Morning came thin and grey, as if the sky itself was unsure it wanted to be awake. The fire had settled into a red hush, the kind that held warmth without flame. Roy stirred it carefully, not waking it all at once. Drew watched from the blanket, learning the shape of patience by watching her father's hands. Willow was already up. She always was. She stood a little apart from the camp, looking toward the rise where the land lifted just enough to show the town beyond. From there, if the light was right and the clouds were low, you could see it. Not the town itself, but its presence. A smear of pale gold caught in the morning mist, smoke from chimneys, the suggestion of walls and doors and rules. Drew came to stand beside her. "Is that it?" Drew asked. "That's it," Willow said. "Or close enough? It looks warm." Willow did not answer straight away. Roy joined them, pulling his coat tighter. His eyes followed the same line, drawn there whether he wished it or not. "Aye," he said. "Warm enough, and busy. Folk buying and selling. Folk not thinking too hard about who they step past." Drew frowned. "Why wouldn't they see us?" "They see," Roy said. "Just not the way you mean." Willow laid a hand on Drew's shoulder, not to hush, but to steady. "The town's like a fire behind glass," she said. "You can see it, but it won't warm you unless it's opened." They returned to the camp and shared the last of yesterday's bread, hard at the edges, but honest. Roy ate slowly, measuring each mouthful against the day ahead. "I'll go in," he said at last. "See if there's work, carting, mending, anything." Drew looked up quickly. "I'll come." "No," Willow said gently. "You'll stay." Drew's mouth tightened, but there was no argument. Some things were decided without noise. Roy checked his boots, the straps worn thin, the soles patched more than once. He hesitated, then took a length of twine from the bag and tied it neat, the way his mother had taught him, not to make it look new, only to make it last. At the edge of the hollow he stopped. "If I'm not back by dark—" "You will be," Willow said, not as hope, as instruction. Roy nodded once and went. Drew watched until the trees swallowed him. The day stretched. Willow set Drew to small tasks, gathering dry grass, shaking the frost from blankets, wiping the pan clean even though there was nothing to clean. "Work for the hands," Willow always said, "keeps the head from running wild," but Drew kept glancing toward the rise. As the hours passed, the town light shifted. It dulled, then sharpened again. Shadows moved where people moved, though no voices reached the hollow. Near midday, 2 figures appeared on the road below. Townsfolk, bundled tight, walking fast. They saw the smoke. One slowed, the other tugged at his sleeve. They walked on. Drew felt it like a stone in the chest. "Why didn't they stop?" Drew asked. Willow folded a cloth. "Because stopping makes people think," she said, "and thinking can be heavier than cold." Later, clouds thickened. Snow threatened but did not fall. The town light faded into a smear again. Less sure now, as if the town itself had drawn a curtain. Roy did not return by noon, nor by mid-afternoon. Drew began to count sounds. The crack of a branch, the call of a bird, the wind passing through grass, anything that might turn into footsteps. Willow added wood to the fire. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the town takes more than it gives. Not always in coin." Drew swallowed. "Will it take him?" Willow looked toward the road, her eyes sharp, measuring distance and time like a woman who had done this before. "No," she said, "but it may try to make him smaller." The light finally thinned to nothing as evening came on. The sky turned the color of old tin. The town vanished completely, leaving only the road, bare, grey, waiting. The fire crackled. Drew sat close, knees pulled in, holding the space Roy usually filled. Then, just as the cold began to settle again, a shape moved between the trees, a familiar step, a familiar pause. Roy emerged from the hollow of the land, shoulders tight, hands empty. Drew ran to him. Roy caught the child, held on longer than usual, then let go. Willow waited until he sat by the fire before speaking. "Well?" she asked. Roy stared into the flames. There was work, he said, and there wasn't. Drew didn't understand, but Willow did. They said come back after the holiday, Roy continued, after folk are done spending, after folk forget there's mouths to feed. Willow nodded once. She handed him a cup of hot water. Roy took it, grateful for the heat more than the drink. The fire burned steady. The town light did not return, and in its absence, the camp drew in on itself, not smaller, but closer, as if reminding itself that warmth did not always come from where you were told to look.